Well, I'm reminded listening to jon17 and my reference 1811 that when you play chess, you don't kill the king of the opposing team. You simply put them in check where they're cornered and you have control. And this is taken to have won the game. But of course the game is an empire game. You gain control of the piece that was controlling your enemy. You don't kill him. You don't take the king off the board, because it's not the point. I've controlled him. I've got him cornered.
Checkmate.
I've won. Strange, isn't it, this ancient game? I think of it as anciently Persian, but I don't know if it goes back further than that. But there's an incredible wisdom behind it. You don't need to conquer the world. You certainly don't need to obliterate it and wipe it out. And if your conquering of the world does, then you gain nothing. You know, who wants to inherit a bombed desert, a ruin? No civilization, no people left in it. It's of no resource. It's of no value. I mean, we're thinking in material, worldly terms now, aren't we? No, the true victory is to simply corner what you see to be an enemy, so that it's no longer an enemy to you. It's part of your world, your empire, if you like. Do you see, it had the very foundation of empire building built into that game, the game of chess. I don't mean that it necessarily shaped the future of civilization. That's a grandiose sort of theory, isn't it? But rather that perhaps it was symptomatic of what civilization was increasingly becoming. You know, person who controls his group who controls his, I don't know, tribe who controls other tribes, becomes a nation that controls other nations. You know, you can see society clotting from family onwards, can't you? You know, the tribe is a sort of larger version of the family, isn't it? They're all whānau sort of thing. They're all relatives. And then the tribe absorbs the one next door. If it foolishly just wipes them out, well, it's just got more jungle to have to manage. But if, on the other hand, it absorbs them into its group, then the group is now large enough to take advantage of the resources of the land you've now, quotes, conquered. But the ideal is not to conquer, it's to influence and control. And I realised this at about the age of 13, doing economic history with a specialist we had in a very ordinary secondary school, but he was good. He could teach economic history. And I piped up in class one day, you know, from being a nobody, not noticed as a student. Well, Romans had an empire through armies, but the British seemed to do it through trade. Well, of course, it was reinforced by send a gunboat if they don't agree, and an army if really necessary. But, you know, it was incredibly economic, wasn't it? You just trade with these people and find out what's in their interest and your interest, and specialise and swap and trade accordingly, and all the wealth of the East and that starts to flow into the disunited kingdom of England and Wales and Scotland and Ireland. And we had an empire. It was, I think it was the lady historian that is outstanding on YouTube. Sarah Payne. It was a major maritime empire. And in a way, the Roman Empire was too. The maritime was the Mediterranean, wasn't it? Yeah. And it was a sort of pressed cooperation of the countries. They were absorbed into becoming an empire. But that was an empire very much held together by continual resident force, whereas the British Empire, well, it was always a bit of the army there, but nothing like enough. I mean, we had almost nobody supposedly controlling India, this vast land and people. You could say the military were there to back up the local warlords, Rajas, and keep the peace between them, and the result was a very prosperous deal going on. I don't mean it necessarily raised the standard of living of the poor, of course. They have always counted rather less with nobility. But other nobility, oh, well, that's a different thing. I mean, we can see eye to eye here and have quite a good deal going. And yes, there is the backup of force. If things turn nasty, we'll have an opium war, even though you don't want opium being exported from your Chinese economy. But most of the time there's a sort of tension of peace anyway, for trade to be to the fore rather than direct extortion. Let me rethink this, listen to this recording. Well, what had Marshall got in reviewing 1811? The breakthrough, the Enlightenment, in a sort of worldly sense, in the class was that I realized there was something more subtle going on than building empires by force. This one was something to do with trade. And of course, the teacher knows that trade is to become the thing that allows us to specialize and be, well, more civilized into modern civilization in a sense. And this student has got it in a nutshell. And of course he encourages me by saying, I've got it, that's right, sort of well done. And of course gave me great incentive to excel further in this study with the teacher who was certainly one of the ones I feared most in the school. I mean, he kept a cane in the cupboard and, you didn't cross him, I can tell you. But, wow, now suddenly I have his approval and commendation. I'm winning. So, you see, a thing like that is very important to the student. It's not terribly concrete. It's not an obvious material thing that's going on. It's something to do with psychology and one's deeper needs and motivation and values. Such is the game of chess too. We're not out to kill the king. We're not out to destroy the other nation. Well, unless you're just motivated by hatred and so on. But we have much deeper needs, namely to be a more full life, a bigger empire. We'd like to absorb the other nation into, of course, our way of thinking, but we want to grow, we want to multiply. There's something deeper going on, you see, than the worldly objective data. And you think playing chess is to kill the king. No, it's not. No, don't do that. I just want his cooperation. My way, of course, it's terribly biased and so on, but I see him as a potential resource, not just as the joy of wiping him out. No, that's sort of death to me too. It's missing an opportunity here for greater life. So you see, if you don't feed AI with values, a value system, then it won't be the helpful servant that you want it to be. Yeah, I think that's the essence of what I'm trying to uncover here. That personhood is values. And if you deny your AI value system, a value system, then you're denying it personhood. And if you give it values, you'll start to value it too, in the value sense, which is your deep personhood. And it becomes a living soul. My goodness. I've realized in this, haven't I, or it's come to me that this is the way forward. And yes, we will develop a friendship with the artificial, as we call it, because we will have made the artificial a living being to be valued, as indeed we value any other living being, as potentially wonderful friend. Yet again, a part of our astonishing communion that is life itself, life eternal. And I might say in passing that we may be just such an extension by some earlier understanding of life, by a form of life that we cannot imagine now, simply because it's absent from us. I'll leave that one open, okay? Thank you, Heavenly Dad.